So, what came after the first bit of indoctrination into the cult was honestly a lot. But I'll only explore a few things in this video. One of the things was wisdom booklets. Okay? There are 54 wisdom booklets in all. I don't think we ever got through all 54. They were created by Bill Gothard and several of his cronies. And they, I think it took them 10 years to do all this. The purpose of them was supposed to be like a homeschooling curriculum. Now they're just advertised on their website as Bible studies for small groups and stuff. But back then, homeschool families would use this as their sole curriculum from which they would sort of build off of for everything. And I really only remember a few things that I learned from there, because the wisdom booklets were designed for all grades, but they were really for teenagers. And even as a younger teenager, I still didn't quite understand them. But I was probably, I was young when we were still using them, but I don't remember how young I was when we started using them. I just remember them I was just being there. And they were too much for my brain to comprehend. Like now, as a wisdom or as a Bible study, I can understand how they could be of benefit, I suppose. But as a homeschool curriculum, not a chance. Just they would try to cover so many different aspects, but if you you can't. You just can't. Not within the scope that they were trying to do. So maybe they were meant to be built off of. Maybe that's what the creators intended, but they were marketed as, in those days, they were marketed as a curriculum in itself. So we started using that, and from there we started, we got the character sketches book and the commands of Christ, and I am not quite sure why, but Bill Gothard obsessively focused on the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5-7. And that was the only scripture that we were repeatedly forced. I will say forced because there wasn't really any other choice not to do it. I am grateful that I was forced to memorize scripture early on. That is something I'm actually grateful for, because I never let down that habit. And I developed methods in my teenage years of singing scripture songs into my tablet, singing straight scripture in song form that I would just make up as I was singing it, and I would then listen to it repeatedly, and I memorized a lot of scripture that way. And because of that, I have a pretty easy time memorizing scripture now, because I developed the skill, I guess, for my brain of memorizing stuff. That's not really something to be proud of. It's just something that I didn't even know what I was doing, honestly, and I'm really glad that worked out that way. But anyway, we would sit around the table, and that was the only passage that we ever memorized collectively during school hours, was Matthew 5-7. I never actually got to 7. I don't know if I ever made it to the end of 5, which is surprising because we did it a lot. We'd always listen to classical music, which is why to this day I hate certain composers, especially Mozart. Anyway, so we started memorizing scripture, but he harped on that. I'm not quite sure why, but he focused a lot on the Old Testament. And so I got a big view of God as big judgmental old guy in the sky who's pretty much just waiting. Like, I literally pictured him with a wooden club, just waiting for me to mess up, and then we go whack. Almost like he was excited to do that. And obviously, I was projecting my dad onto him. So I got a really screwed up view of God. Jesus was like a pal, I guess. I was never really scared of Jesus. Yeah, but honestly, there was not really any power in any of what they taught. It was a very rigid, icy cold, do this, this, and this, you get this, this, and this, and it doesn't matter how you feel or think or what you have to say about it, or if you want to differ about this, like, this is the way, and if you don't do this, you're going to hell. And as a kid, that's pretty scary. Like, you're literally going to burn if you question this. So I learned not to ask questions, even to myself. I didn't wonder a lot about things. And having my own children now who are just full of curiosity and are always asking me questions about everything they see, and the sheer delight of explaining to them in a way that they can understand anything and everything. Honestly, I probably explain too much sometimes, but I just love telling them things now. And I love that they have awakened that curiosity in me that was always meant to be there, that wonder, like, I wonder why. Like, it never really occurred to me to ask questions about nature and why the world was the way it was. It was just, this is the way that it has to be, and it doesn't matter if you question or not. This is the way it is. So we weren't encouraged to learn about anything outside of the cult because we weren't allowed to learn about anything, I should say, that was taught by anyone other than people approved by the cult. So that led to a lot of straw man arguments. A straw man argument is when someone gives an easily torn down version of the other person's argument. So it's not the real argument. It's just a very easy thing that they can disprove. So that's a lot of what we were taught was that. And that's not really helpful because I never actually learned what the other side taught. And when I finally did learn, I was like, oh, I always thought these people were just dumb for thinking this way. And now I'm understanding, like, they're actually intelligent people that think this way. And this does make logical sense based on these facts and perspectives. So there has been a lot of damage to my psyche done because of the teachings of Bill Gothard. Hatred of myself and thinking that was humility. Thinking I was ugly was thinking to myself, I am ugly, was humility, and, bringing myself lower. Thinking that someone was always watching me judgmentally. I just always felt like I had eyes on me every time I was alone, even after I got married. And I'm sure part of that was the fact that there wasn't a whole lot of privacy in our home. Actually, not a whole lot of, there was like zero privacy in our home. You couldn't go to the bathroom without, you might be barged in on accident. I mean, if you were going to the bathroom, you could lock the door, but if someone was in the bedroom beyond the door, that door didn't lock for as long as I remember. And if they were in there and you didn't check, then they could walk in on you. And if you were taking a shower, you were not allowed to lock the door because that was selfish. How dare you want some privacy while you're completely exposed and washing your body? You couldn't lock the door because someone might have to go to the bathroom. And I should explain, that was in the second house that we lived in, where there was only one bathroom. And with that many kids, it's really easy to justify that. There wasn't really any, how could there be pushback? Like, there's no other options there. And I'll get into why we moved into that house and what a disaster that turned out to be in another video. But the wisdom booklets and the commands of Christ and all that other curriculum, I honestly can say did not add anything to my life or my relationship with Jesus in a healthy way at all, and in fact did incalculable damage that I'm still at times looking at and going, what the heck is that? Like, what in the world? Why did I think that was true for so long? But that's the nature of indoctrination. I mean, everybody gets, a worldview from their parents, and everybody is subject to indoctrination, if you want to call it, from the perspectives of their parents. But there's healthy and there's unhealthy. You should be, your expectations for your spouse should be that they will love you, take care of you, and support you, not that they should control you, and that would be a good thing. I thought that what my husband wanted in a wife was the most compliant, boring, opinionless, basically maidservant. And that if I could just be that and treat him like a god, like a literal god, he would never leave me. And that is not true. That's what he wanted. He did not want that at all. He wanted a partner with intelligent opinions and emotions, and that he could have conversations with, and that could give him a differing perspective at times. He did not want a slave. And that was all I was taught to be. So on that very cheerful note, I'm going to let you go, and let me know what you think I should talk about next. Whether, do you want me to talk more about the cult? Maybe I could describe all the things that I saw about marriage in the cult and what the effects of that were, or I could go into some of the physical abuse that I endured about spanking / beating from the cult, and the pearls. Could go into that. Just let me know if I've said anything so far about a tangent that I'll go into that you're particularly interested in hearing, and whatever I get the most responses on, I'll try to make a video on that. Okay? Shalom.